everybody. I'm Audrey Moore with Audrey Helps Actors, and this is episode number 63. What's it gonna be for you in 2021? Are you gonna crush them? Sure, why not? Let's do it! All right, you guys, today we have Briana Price. Briana is goddess queen. Legit. Briana is everything. If you ever are so lucky as to know and work with Briana, you will just be like, you're amazing. You're fantastic. So professional, so incredible, so on point. I am so excited for Briana to be uber super famous as she deserves to be. Briana is one of those actors that, again, just was having a really hard time. She was working as a professional dancer, and sometimes that included acting gigs, but just really getting in and the recognition that she deserves from her actual acting career, she was having a hard time sort of striking a match. And she got her shit together. And I think it's so hard for so many of us who are hardworking. You listened to Alex last week, and Briana is no exception. Hardworking people. But working properly and working hard are two different things. And if you can work properly and work hard, that really gets to see results. And she just inspires me so much. I love talking to dancers because their grit is just like, you just can't come up against it. And I get so nerded out by people who demonstrate such incredible grit, which she does. This episode, we talk about her journey from being a working dancer to realizing how much work she actually wasn't doing as an actor, and then changing that, putting in the hours, refining her materials, getting a better team, building on her relationships. And it is showing her audition statistics are outstanding, and just talking with her inspired me, and I know it will inspire you too. You guys have really been warming my heart with your reviews while we've been on hiatus. Thank you so much for your reviews. Every time that you give me a review, it's like somebody just gifted me like a dozen CBD bath bombs. I'm just so excited. I'm so grateful. I'm looking forward to the luxury of each and every single review. It really does warm my whole body inside and out. That's right. So shout out to Joe Galan, E. Loops, Courtney Rue, Terry DKL, Sharayu Mahale, and Austin R. Grant. I really appreciate your reviews, you guys. Thank you so much. This episode is brought to you by Carla Zuniga Hair. That's Carla Zuniga Hair. We talk a lot on this podcast about having a great haircut. This is a visual medium. And listen, not everyone needs to look super fabu. Your haircut should very much match various casting possibilities for you. I love a great haircut that can do many things, and that's why I like Carla Zuniga. She is an incredible curl master. So we will get into more of what is so great about her, but Carla Zuniga Hair. And also this week, we are so grateful for our continued sponsor, WeAudition.com. WeAudition.com. You guys, I use WeAudition all the time. I think it's a really valuable resource. So many people are so scared to ask somebody else to read with them. And there's just something so nice about super affordable. You can pay somebody $10, $15 to just read a script with you and just sort of lightly start to get into it. If working your work in front of people and having the courage to do so, if you want to just practice acting over the internet, I so recommend this. It's really valuable. WeAudition.com, promo code Audrey25 for 25% off your membership. Promo code Audrey25. All right, you guys, I hope you got a self-tape today. Book it. Use WeAudition and book it. Book it.
Audrey helps actors because they don't know anything.
Hi, everybody. I'm Audrey Moore with Audrey Helps Actors, and today we have
Briana Price. Hi, guys.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Boy, I'm so excited to talk to you, and even just to see your lovely face. It's this thing where nowadays you just don't even get to see people as often as you want to.
I know. No. Yeah.
I feel like even when I see, I make plans to see people, everyone's
Yeah.
always canceling because we all feel behind on seeing each other.
Yep.
And then we're just still so tired, though.
Right.
We're
Right.
like, can't.
Yeah. And like, what are we tired from? It's interesting. Like one of my best friends, we've been trying to get tea for like 2 months and it's just not happening. So
Not happening. I think we're tired from being so panicked. It's exhausting.
probably low level anxiety for 6 months, 7 months. Yeah, that'll do it.
That'll do it. That'll do it. Something's going to crack, and it's called our relationships.
Great.
Yay.
Yay.
I love this beautiful, you guys, she is drinking out of the most beautiful tea mug I have ever seen. It's so
Thank
cute.
you. Thanks. My mom gave it to me.
Yay, Mom. Okay, so we are having you on today as part of our Get Your Shit Together series. And you and I have known each other for a few years now. You are a listener of the podcast, fan of the podcast. It came to you through other mutual friends. And you've had this amazing journey going from being really an actress who is booking a lot of jobs in theater, dancing, things like that. You're a dancer, to then really getting your materials together, getting your footage together, and really building on momentum. And you are working. So I'd love for you to talk with me about that process.
I guess I should start by saying that like I started off as a dancer. So I had some familiarity with like entertainment, like kind of relationship building and things like that. So I knew the importance of that. And also I knew the importance of like not relying on anybody to do the work for you. So I learned that before I made the transition into acting.
I remember you had, I think, one of your friends tell you, which was like an awakening moment. I remember when we were talking about the girl who had told you about the podcast, that she was talking about practicing. And you were like, yeah, well, I practice, like, you know, I'll do this. And she was like, no, Audrey says 4 days a week.
Yeah. So like I was doing a play a couple years ago and a girl in my cast, she was talking about your podcast. And I was like, oh, that sounds cool. Like, she's like, no, I like live by this podcast. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, let me check it out.
You're like, calm down.
Yeah. I'm like, okay. Like I'll listen. So I listened, and during rehearsals and stuff, she would always say like, Audrey says that she practices 4 times a week, and she did it for like years. And I'm like, what? It seemed like super overwhelming, especially because at that time I was like running around town trying to make money, doing plays, not focused. I wasn't focused. So I had to kind of realign what I did. And like, I started small because I was like, I don't think I can do 4 days a week. I just did 2 and then in addition to my class. And so it actually inspired me to kind of get back into class. So I'd have some regular practice. And then I was able to then add in 3. And like one day it would just be like 2 lines. Another day it'll be like 2 pages. Another day I'll try to do 2 scenes. Like, you know what I mean? To kind of allow that to grow. And like, if I couldn't get in an 8-pager that week, I would just do a couple co-stars, you know, just so that the muscle was nice and fresh, and like made sure that my, you know, I have the backdrop that I need, and my everything is in place for when it's game time.
Love that.
And that helped tremendously, like tremendously. I feel like I'm super confident in my self-tapes now.
What do you feel like you learned or changed in that process of that growth?
I feel like the biggest thing I learned is there needs to be like a clear arc. Like even if it's 2 lines, like I have to be coming from somewhere and then I have to be going somewhere. Like if I'm a barista being like, here's your coffee, like I need to be making coffee before I offer the coffee. I'm like, give me the roll. You know, I have to make it like a living and breathing thing where they could just say, okay, let's put this person right in the scene. I don't have to worry about her delivery on the day. So I think that, and then also how I look on camera, what light is best for me. Framing, you know, I only really read with 2 people now because I figured out like who helps me the most. Yeah.
And that is so important. Can I just pause on that? Because to me, getting your team together includes so many different things. And getting your team together in terms of readers is another really big and very important part of the puzzle. Like, who helps you bring out your best self and also can help you arc or shape or play or whatever.
Yeah. And like, I mean, I always work with the coach. So most of the time, like if he's available, I'll work with him. But then I have this other friend, and he's brilliant, like brilliant. because he just demands the best. And that's the type of people I love in my life who like don't let me settle. Like, for instance, I had an audition over the weekend for like a lawyer and I was very short on time. I prepped it. I was like, let's just get this in 2 takes. And he's like, no, like this isn't undeniable. So we're going to do it until it's undeniable.
Good for you.
And I'm so grateful. But like, you know, my like core group of acting friends, we do that for each other. Like we just don't let each other get away with bullshit because we realize that bullshit is not going
Doesn't book jobs.
Doesn't book jobs. Nobody cares. So having that in place, I think has been also a really huge help for me this year because we're constantly keeping each other accountable. Constantly. Like we meet up once a week. We work on stuff once a week. If somebody's not prepared, they will get called out. Like it's what works for me. Now, this might be too intense for some people, but for me, it helps me push and like drive and continue to like work to be excellent instead of just be like, oh, I'm good enough. I think that's been kind of the missing piece for everything that I have gotten this year. Because, you know, I have all the materials together. I got my headshots together. You know, I got my workshop situation together, but like the people who are like, no, you have to work to be great. Nothing more, like that's nothing less rather. So that
it's competitive.
It's pushed me. It's pushed me in a beautiful way. And I love them, all of them, so much.
I love that.
And, you know, I took class. I did all of the things that, like, people said to do. But there came a point where I was getting really frustrated because I was hearing all of this great feedback from my teachers and my peers, and I had nothing to show for it. So, like, everybody's like, you're so great. I'm like, cool. Like, my resume does not reflect that, nor does my bank account.
Right.
One of the challenges I had was I wasn't sure my type. Like I had no idea like what the lane that I should kind of run in and drive in should have been. You know, back in the day when I didn't know up from down, I had this headshot that worked so well and I had no idea what worked about it. But like I was wearing this Metallica shirt with a red lip. It was like super cool, but it was also very true to who I naturally am instead of like being very headshotty or whatever I thought I needed to look like. I was just like, fuck this. This is what I like wearing. This is how I look on a normal day. Let's just shoot this picture. And I got a ton of traction from that before I was ready. Like I was going to auditions constantly and probably fucking them up in a major, no, I'm sure I was fucking them up in a major way. So I was ready.
We can't do better than we know. We can't do better than we know.
Right. It's just like thinking back, wow. Anyway, I had taken another set of headshots and these were commercial headshots. And I kind of wanted to recapture that as much as I could without it feeling like a shtick or, you know what I mean? So I had similar styling where it was kind of like a rock and roll t-shirt, cut off arms. I had my hair natural and like pulled back with a red lip. Again, just very like I would wear this on a normal day. And it was like funky and edgy, but like not in a way that was inauthentic, but it was like intended to be for commercials. And then it started to work. And it, like, you know, it started to work. Let's be real. It wasn't like I was getting calls every day.
You had a shot where you were like very sort of a metropolitan hip business.
Yeah.
And I remember you telling me like that was doing really well for you. And it was just getting you called in, even though the shot didn't necessarily look like the thing you were getting called in for. The shot itself was standing out so much. Do you want to talk about that experience at all?
Totally. So I took headshots and I got a couple of like fun things that I would normally wear. And the photographer styled me and I was like, this looks crazy. And, like the makeup, I was also just kind of like, I'm so not this person. I was super like, my hair is huge. Like my makeup is a lot, lots of bright colors. And so I was a little nervous about what my reps would think about it because I was nervous about the shot. And they were like, no, listen, people will see this. So like on a screen of little, you know, tiny baby squares, can't miss this. Yes. So at the very least, even if you don't like it, my reps were like, I think that this is usable. And it was, you know, got me in the door for a couple of things and I booked a job off of it. So it was like, it was like for a Ryan Murphy thing. And it was perfect for Ryan Murphy because it was like loud and bright. And it fit right in with that universe.
Yes.
And I would have never even thought I would never even thought to like style myself that way. So it worked really well.
I love that. What I love too is you're talking about like the creative collaborative process from top to bottom, right? Like you have your own ideas that you're coming in with, but I really encourage people to do your research with their photographers and also be willing to collaborate. Be willing to go in and let your photographer maybe be inspired. Some of the best shots come out of like the inspiration of the photographer, the makeup artist, and then the actor sort of trying and finding something and something just magically happening.
I mean, and that's like kind of what our job is, right? Like if we're unable to work with other people, and then be like set aside our egos and like listen and think about ways that we can make something even better than our idea. Then we're set up for success, you know? So I also just realized I don't know so much stuff. Like, so why would I pretend? Like, obviously I don't. I like just got a check from acting yesterday. Like, so why would I act like I'm an expert when I'm clearly not? So, you know, I just want to stay as open and learn as much as possible from as many people as I can and take what works and leave the rest, you know? So
I'd also love to talk about your representation and the collaboration in that, because I have to say, God love reps. I really feel that way because I don't know why they do what they do, but thank God that somebody does. And I love that you tried it out and then you allowed your reps their input. I know a lot of actors, they give their reps all of the power or they're mad at them the whole time, so they don't want to have any power. And I love the idea that you had some ideas about what you're going to wear. You brought it, you came into the session, you collaborated, and then you took that collaboration to the next collaboration and said, like, what do you think?
Right. Well, this has always been my thought that this is a business, right? What we do is business, and I'm the CEO of the business. I'm the boss, but I have a team. I don't want to make a decision without the input of my team because, like I said, I don't know everything, and like my team has more experience and has been doing this in a way that I haven't. But like I know who I am and what I want, so I can be very clear on like, okay, so these are my goals. This is what I want to do. Do you think that I'm on the right track? Do you think that this is effective? Do I need to be doing X, Y, and Z? And that's just also been helpful because it's established trust. Like it's established like a real level of trust, which has been hard for me to find as an actor up until probably the last 2 years. I feel super blessed because I feel like that is not an easy thing to find at all. So that collaboration, I also think it gives me a sense of security too, you know, like we all are on the same accord and we're all trying to accomplish the same thing instead of me having an idea and then them having no idea what my ideas are. And then I'm getting sent out for things that I have no business being sent out for that are not right for me. I've just dealt with that before. And I just made a very clear decision to stop doing that.
And you said it was like the last couple years. And what I think is really interesting about that is that's when I really saw your attitude start to shift. Like your attitude of, okay, I'm going to take this seriously in a new and different way. And I so recognize that. I remember from my own journey, never thinking that I wasn't taking it seriously. Like if you would ask me if I was taking it seriously, nobody that you would have ever talked to was like, well, Audrey, she's just lazy and apathetic. Like that's not a conversation anyone would have about me.
Literally no one.
No, literally zero people. But it didn't mean that I wasn't, just because I wasn't being lazy doesn't mean I was working properly.
Right. I mean, when I met with both my manager and my agent, like before I signed with either of them, this was like a strategic question I asked them. I already knew the answer, but I wanted them to understand what type of actor I was. I was like, what are some of the things that the most successful people on your roster do? Like, what do they do? And I mean, they're like, they just work hard.
Yeah.
Well, I know they're like, they work really hard. But like a thing that my agent said is they're just constantly working. Like they're working on something. They're doing a short film or they're doing a play or they're doing this or they're doing that, which great. Like I can do that, you know, just to have that muscle going. And of course, like there's a time and a place to stop doing that. Of course, where I was, it was like, let me just make sure that I feel confident in like my skill set is sharp and I can get in front of a casting director or an audience and feel like I've given it my all. You know what I mean? And not feel like I've held anything back or I haven't had the skill set to achieve what I want. Because then it's out of my hands. But if I haven't done everything I can do, then I can't even, that's something I can't even fathom.
Yeah. I totally love that because it's really taking as much responsibility as you can. You keep saying, and I love it, you keep saying, am I doing everything that I need to do? No one's going to hand me anything. You keep saying, no one's going to hand me anything. And I really think it's this unfortunate realization that all of my friends have had, no matter how big their careers have gotten.
Right.
No one's ever really going to hand you anything. And if you're not a person who wants to create your own work, fine, but are you creating opportunities for yourself? Are you being seen? Are you building relationships? Do you have materials that lift you up instead of like, I'm just like 10, like everyone else is like, I'm 10 times a better actor than I am my headshot. And it's like, well, no, your headshot needs to be as good as you are an actor.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I'm in full agreement with that. Like you said, and I think that's something else that I have kind of meditated on, like no matter what level you're at, there's still this sense of like, you can't drop the ball. Like,
it's too competitive.
And nobody cares also. It's like, if you're not fighting for yourself, truly nobody cares. No one.
Oh my God. I just want to like, yes to that. And I will keep quoting her forever. My manager always says, always says, I can't want this more for you than you want this for you. When you stop hustling, you stop working. That's what I've noticed. I've had friends who've reached a certain level of success and then they felt like now they felt entitled for things to come to them.
Right.
And they were really horrified to find out it didn't matter that you had that series. It didn't matter that you were hot in 2016. Like now nobody cares about you.
Like not at all. Yeah.
And one of the best stories I have about that is a girlfriend of mine who was on the podcast, and she had auditioned for some pilot on some network that she was like, I don't even know what this fucking network is. And she was like, they like applauded me when I was done. And I was like, and she came out feeling herself that she was so amazing. And then sure enough, she didn't hear anything. And she called me. I know she's so devastated because she didn't hear anything. And she just felt like they applauded me. And I said, well, it's a series regular. They offered it out. And she was like, well, but for this little network that like nobody's been on, like for this little network. And I was like, show me an actor who's been on a series who doesn't want another series. Show them to me. I'd love to find them because they don't exist.
Right.
But wait, Briana, wait. You shining goddess. I have to interrupt you.
Help me. I need some help.
And now it's time for listener questions.
I'm so scared.
This listener question is brought to you by Carla Zuniga Hair. That's Carla Zuniga Hair. Carla, you guys, first of all, she's a curl master. So many people have hair that is on the wavy to curly to kinky side. And if that's you, I so recommend her. She herself has very curly hair, so she's really experienced and understands the plight of the curl. And the reason I started going to Carla was really because I needed a haircut that could do many things. I needed a haircut that could go a little bit simpler for if I'm just playing a character that's maybe more generic, Midwestern mom. And then I needed a haircut that could also do something that was a little more fabulous if I styled it a little bit different way. And also something that could work for period and vintage work. So I'm always collaborating with Carla on the regular basis so to get a haircut that fits my current casting needs. She is pregnant. Yay, congrats, Carla. And so she is going to be taking off in April for a couple of months. So I recommend getting to her ASAP, get to her now. And to accommodate more clients price-wise, Carla has transitioned from the Benjamin Salon, which is where she was, and is now taking clients on her own. So be sure to reach out to her directly on her Instagram account, Carla Zuniga Hair, CarlaZuniga Hair, to schedule an appointment. Also, she is working outside. So if that's a concern to you, which it should be, just know I've gone and seen her. She has an outdoor space and we both wear masks and then she cuts my hair. So just so you know, she obviously is taking precautions very seriously. She got a baby inside of her, so she is being as careful as can be. So Carla Zuniga Hair, reach out to her. I need a haircut.
Hi, Audrey. This is Chad Rogers. I'm located here in Los Angeles. We've been Instagram buddies for a while, and I even met you last year at your B-Dub meetup. And first, I'd just like to say thank you so much. Your podcast has been a godsend for me when it comes to looking at this industry as a business and how to be specific with my intentions. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Any Hoozleberries, down to brass tacks. I'm emailing you because I've been having a dilemma for some time. I have no reps, and I haven't had reps in about 2 years. The reason for that is long, but I've had a couple reps who simply put weren't the best people and didn't do much for me. I am currently SAG eligible, and right now I'm just looking at what I can do right now to try and get some reps before pilot season. I've been, honestly, a little stone cold in my progress. I've had some financial issues out here, and I've really just been working to keep my head above water. But I've been going to class, I'm well trained, and I truly do feel like I am ready to work in this industry. My materials are okay, decent headshots, decent reel footage, kind of a lackluster resume, but I know that I need to just start shooting my shot and emailing agents out here. My question for you, in short, today is, what should I include in an email to an agent, a cold email who I've never met and not on their radar at all? What should I include? What should I say? Should I include my resume, my headshot, links to my reels, my social media handles? I've just really never been put in a position where I've had to cold email agents, and I feel like there's about to be an explosion in our industry with tons of work because of all of these streaming platforms have been starving to shoot. Thank you so much. Any advice that you could give me? Greatly appreciated. I love you, girl. Oh, what's this? Oh, my towel. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
OMG. Hey, Hoozleberries. So listen, I think we have so much to discuss. I'm so glad that you gave me this listener question because I think a lot of people are dealing with this and we have so much to cover. So first of all, I just want you guys to know, I don't think there's going to be a thing called pilot season. Maybe ever again? ? If you don't listen to The Business with Kim Masters from The Hollywood Reporter and also TV's Top 5, also from The Hollywood Reporter, then I need you to get on it and start listening. The other thing you talked about is you're getting your finances together and this sort of lackluster resume. Finances are so real. If you guys haven't listened to the Miyata Idoga season 4 premiere episode where we talk about money, you must listen to it. You cannot get Olympic momentum if you have your finances in chaos. The degree to which you can invest time, energy, and money into your career, which are all connected, is the degree to which you can go faster. Just getting your finances in order, if you spent this pandemic getting your money together and getting yourself in a good financial place, a healthy, abundant financial place, you are actually going to come out ahead. In terms of how to reach out to a rep, I'm so glad you brought this up because we had an Instagram post that I had posted this year that went really controversial really fast. And so I want some time to explain and clarify. This was a post where an agent had talked about actors reaching out to them on the weekend and how it felt like it disrespected their boundaries. So I want to clarify this because it deserves clarification. This is a particular email that's floating around the internet for various reasons. Sometimes actors post their agent's email directly on their resume that's then on their website. All kinds of reasons why the emails can be up there. Oftentimes, reps will have an email directly for submissions, and then they'll have a personal email. And just as true with casting directors, it's true with representation. If you are emailing somebody on their personal email, I don't recommend it, period. If you're going to email someone on the weekend, I would hope that it would be somebody that you had a connection or relationship with. But in general, if you're going to be emailing somebody on the weekend, I think it's fine if it's an email that somebody has that's for submission. So if you go onto an agent's website and then it's info@agentsagency.com, I think you can go ahead and email that 2 a.m. on the weekends, whenever you want. But if it's a person's direct personal email, if it's Tom@agentsagency.com, that's often a way how you know it's their direct personal email. First of all, know that emailing them in that email for an actor submission, I say enter at your own risk. For every story that you'll hear from somebody who did that successfully, you were not hearing all the stories of people that didn't have a successful experience with that. So my recommendation is referrals are really valuable. Casting referrals are super valuable. Showrunner referrals, extra valuable. Referrals from other actors who are represented by that person, really valuable. But if you're going to be doing what's called a blind submission, so you don't know this person and this person doesn't know you, I would stick to the email that is made for actor submissions. With that email, honestly, the shorter and more to the point I find, the better. When it's just like, I'm an actor, I have these relationships with these casting directors, I am recently out of school, here is my pictures, and here is my link to your actor's access. If you can do a quick link to your actor's access or a quick link to your IMDb. These emails that are like, hi, my name is Audrey Moore. I've been an actor since 2012. I graduated from such and such, and I've done a lot of theater. I've done theater in New York. I've done theater in Los Angeles. Here's all the touring companies I've done in theater. And I don't have a reel, but I do have this one scene I shot with my friend in my apartment. And here are my 3 pictures. That usually is not a professional communication. And I know it's hard because for a lot of people, that's what you have. And if that's what you have, I just want to say, maybe you need to be investing more time, energy, and money in the prep of getting ready to have something really sellable for an agent to sell. One of my favorite exercises that I love, I don't know if we're going to have it in this season, but we've recorded it, and so it'll show up in future ones. When I ask a guest, if you were an agent tomorrow and you had to pay your bills and your business expenses off of actors, and your bills are $4,000 a month, that means you need your actors to be earning you $40,000 a month in order for you to walk away with $4,000 a month. And ask yourself, are you a person who can financially contribute to that $40,000? And if you don't feel like you can contribute to that $40,000, then you're probably not first in line to get signed. And you may get an agent that you feel is not really lifting you up, but that's the place that you are right now. That's just where you're at, is you're at sort of a beginner level. And so you get reps that are sort of at a beginner level. It's really about increasing your value. So some things that are of value to reps are relationships with casting directors. If you've done casting director workshops and casting directors have called you in without an agent, that's exciting to an agent because they know that even without them, you're already getting called in. If you're booking, even better. If you don't like casting director workshops, if that's not your vibe, but you are maybe creating a lot of comedy content on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube, anything like that, and then you have a website and you are constantly creating stuff where people can see, oh, I see a voice here, I see some interest. You know, a lot of actors maybe create some content that then gets retweeted by Judd Apatow or by a certain showrunner. That's something that agents can go like, oh, I see you have momentum going, you're building something. And so I know for you, that's like, great, Audrey, so I just have to get like a viral video that gets retweeted by Judd Apatow. Thanks for absolutely nothing. And I just want you to know, like, you're in the Olympics. And when you have what's called a saturated market, far more sellers than there are buyers, you have to just have more to be of value. Your work and you are valuable, but unless people can see that that is automatically translatable to helping them literally pay their bills, and maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but they're investing in you for free on the belief that they will get a return on their investment. So in terms of what to communicate, email to their emails that are like for submissions. That's something you can communicate. Anything that you think lets them see that you are bringing something to the table, not just you're a trained actor. Being a trained actor, hopefully everyone is a trained actor, but that you are a trained actor who also brings blah, blah, blah to the table. Maybe that's a special skill. Some people are like, I also speak 4 languages. Some people are like, I have an EU passport. Also, I'm a black belt in karate. Whatever it is, there are things that you all have that make you uniquely valuable. And if you feel like you aren't getting responses from representation, I always say the stats don't lie. And so if you're not getting responses from representation, or you're not getting the kind of representation that you feel is reflective of the kind of talent that you have, the kind of training and skill that you have, then some more work needs to be done in the creating your value and having value to demonstrate to representation rather than just, I'm a great actor, please sign me, which I know sucks. I just know personally that sucks. And the road to really incredible representation for many people is a long and winding road.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
So tell everyone a little bit about going from getting your casting together in terms of your headshots, and then you also went and you got footage for yourself because you really felt like that wasn't, though you had booked some stuff, you weren't sure when it was airing or if you would be cut out of it, and filming some content for yourself so that people could market that. First of all, I want to say, in any of this, did you have any of these conversations with your representation, or did you sort of go at it and then show them?
Well, prior to getting like better footage, I let them know what my plan was. Like I just generally let them know, like, these are the things that I'm planning on doing to give myself a better package. And if you have any thoughts, let me know. I had shot footage earlier in that year, or like, I don't know, maybe a year and a half prior. And it was like fine. It was fine. But like it wasn't top notch, right? So I took all of the types that I had and the things that I wasn't sure about in terms of when I would book a role that would align with that. I did see that were specific to that role and like to the type of show I can see myself on. And, you know, it was an investment, but like anything else, if you want to be a doctor, you invest in medical school. So like, why would I not put money in and then wait for that return? So the footage was like super specific, you know, was styled specifically. I had like shows in mind that would fit into the world of the footage that I was shooting. And yeah, and like, you know, I took it as seriously as if it was a paid gig, because I mean, work is work is work, right? So I prepped the same way I would prep for, I was going on set and showed up ready to throw down, just like I would if I was on set, you know? So super helpful.
Have you found the headshots and or the footage got you any sort of direct return on investments? Like I know you had said that the headshot that you collaborated with the actual photographer, that you like booked a job straight off that, which I love, because if you're like, okay, these headshots cost $1,100, but then I made X amount, then you know, like that just paid for itself. Right?
Yeah.
Did you have any experiences of noticing a kind of audition or a caliber of auditions or even a volume of auditions that had occurred in getting those materials refined?
But for me, there was a clarity. Like I was going into workshops, like, okay, I have this scene that aligns with this footage that I have. And so this casting director will be able to be like, okay, great, let's make her a mom, you know, or like, okay, great, let's have her do like a soldier audition, or okay, great, let's have her do a lawyer professional. And like, I've actually recently, now that things have been picking up, gotten specific auditions that are super aligned with the casting that I was crafting, which has been fantastic. And I also want to say this, in the investment of the reel, right? I had to buy stuff. I had to buy costumes, I had to buy clothes. And like when I was buying them, I'm like, this shit is so expensive. This shit is mad expensive. Yeah. And I've worn those outfits for I've worn the same thing.
That's
and
awesome.
I've booked in those outfits, like in the same outfit. And I'm like, okay, so this is my mom outfit. Like I'll be wearing this until the wheels fall off. So
I've noticed in my life, in my career, that when I'm like, I'm investing in this thing, I'm saying yes to this. And then sometimes it's not a direct correlation, but I get what it feels like a universal return on my investment, right? Did you experience anything like that?
Absolutely. Like, I think anytime we commit to something, like really commit to something, we get signs. If we want something and we say, okay, I'm going to this is it. There's no plan B. This is what I'm doing. Every time I've made that choice, I get like it might be a little bite. It might be something as small as like, I don't know, a callback. Yay. Or I don't know, just a random message from somebody that I worked with. Hey, I thought about you for this project. I'm going to send your stuff to this person. Like just like little things that let me know that I'm on the right track. So also when you're invested in something, you're invested. Like you're not just financially invested, you become emotionally invested in it
so
too.
good. Right.
It's not just about like, this is a fun hobby that I hope somebody like finds me on the street and they make me a star. Like, nah. No, which is how I used to think.
I think that's great for anyone who's got a financial investment, whether that's joining the union or whether that's maybe moving to a different market or getting headshots or getting footage or whatever it is. Even if it's taking a kind of class or getting a kind of private coaching that maybe you need for your growth, to realize that in saying yes to it and planning and spending with a focus, focus to go forward, I've experienced that it gives you a sense of confidence to be like, yes, I'm moving forward. I see this, I'm pointing the dial here, and then I'm walking towards that. And that does give me an emotional return. I'd also love for you to talk a little bit about where your auditions, careers, booking quality, quantity was maybe a couple of years ago, and even maybe confidence versus where it is you feel like now that you've taken a couple of years to really put focus and the energy and time towards that focus?
Well, I think a couple years ago, the auditions were sparse. And so like it meant a lot. It was so much pressure. And the booking was like 0. There's no ratio.
Okay, good. So it was 0 for 0. Good, I love.
It was like 0. Now, let's say on a good week, I'll probably have like 3 to 4 commercial auditions, maybe like 2 to 3. I'll get called back for probably 2 of them. And like, I have booked 2 commercials during quarantine. So like, that's not bad.
That's amazing.
In terms of theatrical, I barely had any theatrical in the beginning, when all those like people were trying to rush to get stuff done. I had a couple then. I booked one. I probably had like 3 and I booked one of them. I had an audition in the middle of quarantine. In the beginning of quarantine. We're in the middle of it now. Early June, maybe late May. I booked that. This past week, I've had 2 auditions. And then I booked another job that I'm shooting in November. So like, it's been good. My ratio
That's amazing.
There's an actual ratio to speak of.
Yeah. And it's good.
0
Those
to
are
0.
good numbers. Those are good numbers. And what I really want people to hear from this, because this is why I'm so inspired by you and what I'm so excited about your journey, is that I think there's this idea that you can be working improperly and then you're done. Like then you just didn't work properly, so then it's over. It's very similar to my experience that I just had to get my shit together. And once I got my shit together, I started working. I did start booking. I just had to get my shit together. And all the years it took me to get my shit together didn't really matter in terms of like, now I have my shit together and now I compete.
Right. Exactly. So get your shit together, I guess.
Get your shit together, I guess. But wait, Briana, wait. You shining goddess. I have to interrupt you.
Help me. I need some help.
And now it's time for listener questions.
I'm so scared.
This listener question is brought to you by WeAudition.com. WeAudition.com. I love WeAudition, and I'm so grateful that I was working with WeAudition before everything went virtual, because I was already very accustomed to working and acting and practicing my acting and just communicating and emoting and feeling and connecting over a computer. I don't think we're going back in the room. Eventually, I think it'll be like this cool sort of Quentin Tarantino in-person work sessions again. But honestly, I just don't think we're going back into the room. Nobody wants to pay for an office space. Nobody wants to drive an hour and change. I think it's going to be something as an option, but I think mostly we're not going back in the room most of the time forevermore. So I really recommend getting going on getting comfortable, working on new material and practicing lines and just being of assistance to yourself and to others over we audition. A lot of people have a lot of anxiety about reading with people. It's very interesting. If you're a person who gets a script and then you don't want to work it out loud with anyone because you feel insecure about that, please, please, please use We Audition. Audrey 25 for 25% off discount. It's super affordable. There are plenty of people on there who are doing it for free and you just can tip them $5, $10. Tons of actors are unemployed right now. If you are one of them, make some extra money. Work with people on their scripts and their auditions. You're going to learn a lot about how other people's processes work. I use We Audition all the time. I'm just trying to say it out loud and get it under me. And I spend a lot of hours just doing that because I get my impulses not through my ideas, but through literally in my body and voice. Something occurs to me while working it out loud. And I love to work it out loud with various people because everyone brings something a little bit different to it. And that's a really great exercise just to kind of see how different people inform your performance and then record it all and then watch it and then see for yourself what's exciting, what works, what doesn't work. Honestly, just fuck around. Get some sides, get some props and be like, can I use a prop? What if I hold a cup of coffee in this? Fuck with the frame, fuck with your lighting, fuck with sound. Actively practicing and honing in your skills, your hours of these self-tapes. For those of you who are commercial actors too, listen, just do it. Just put your commercial hours in. I promise you, you're going to want to do that. A lot of my self-tapes, I've been working them before I send them for commercials, and my callback ratio has really gone through the roof. So I really recommend weaudition.com. Get to work. Just get to work, everybody. weaudition.com. Promo code Audrey25 for 25% off.
Hey, Audrey. My name is Kansu Phillip, and I'm calling from Los Angeles. I had a question, and I don't know if it's one you can answer, but I'm hoping. It's about sharing credit on projects. For example, I was writing a sketch with my friend, and I assumed we would be co-writers because we both did about 50% of the work. And then at the end of the day, she ended up not crediting me, claiming that because we didn't discuss it before, we wouldn't be co-writers. I was just helping her out, and she's the main writer. Obviously, we're not really friends ever since this incident occurred. I was professional about it and explained to her that wasn't going to work with me in the future, and she can go ahead and post the sketch without crediting me, but I don't want to work together again. Blah, blah, blah. All to say, what are the rules on this if you're not in the Writers Guild? How do you split up credit on projects? Maybe not just sketch writing, on any project that you're working on with friends. How do you credit each other? I would love to hear your feedback, and thanks for your awesome podcast. It's really helped me out a lot, and I'm grateful. Thanks.
Okay, so for this one, I am passing this over to my oh-so-handsome husband because I am not a writer, but luckily I sleep with one.
Hey, Tansu. I am sorry to hear about that. That really sucks. Unfortunately, it's a pretty common occurrence. It's important to have these conversations very early on in the writing process, actually before the writing process happens, just to be really clear about who's doing what, whose roles, what the credit's going to be, all of that stuff. If you can have that before even kicking an idea around, definitely before a single word is written, that is ideal. Non-union wise, there's really not a ton you can do. You can make a big stink about it and you can fight tooth and nail for your credit that it sounds like you're due, but there's not a lot of channels for non-union work to really sort that out. Now, if this wasn't a sketch, if it was a feature that you had sold or a pilot that you had sold, it may be worth fighting a little harder for. And if you have any proof of the writing that you've done, that would be ideal. You know, if you were writing it virtually together, you know, like if you were sending a draft and then she was sending a draft back, that kind of thing, then you could have some sort of paper trail of what you had written so that there was proof that you had done work. That would be a good thing to have. Basically anything that proves that you have done X amount of work on it. That would be the best place to start. Now, once you get into the union, there's systems set up in the union to work through this. That's not to say that you shouldn't have that conversation right away, because you should. Just because the union has systems set up doesn't mean they always work in the way that you want them to. It also doesn't mean it can't ruin your relationship still. It's important to have that relationship up front. So there's different credits that you can get. You can get story by credit. You can get written by credit. You can get created by credit. And all of these mean different things. And so if you've written this thing with her, but she's not going to let you have any of that credit, maybe she'll still give you a story by credit. And that's at least something. It's not equal shared credit. And if it was something that exploded into, it suddenly became a feature or something like that, you wouldn't get the monetary payout the same. But it's at least a credit, and it's at least getting your name on something so that when somebody Googles you, maybe it pops up, whatever, it's a start. So consider asking for something like that. But really, you need to have these conversations before you start writing. I have some writing partners that I've worked with, and I always have those conversations before we put a single letter on paper, because it can really screw you over in the end and screw your relationships over. And every single one can be different. If you have a writing partner on a television show, you both get paid as one entity. You get paid as one writer. And so you're essentially taking half of the pay that you would get if you were writing it alone. You can have these conversations, and you should put it down in writing, and a monetary split of, I'll get 30% and you'll get 70%, or I'll get 10% and you'll get 90%, but we will both be credited, written by me and you, or whatever you both feel comfortable with. Having a writing partner is a much bigger commitment than most people realize. It's almost like getting married to someone in a business sense, because this relationship could last years and years and years, even if it's just one project, even if it's just one feature that you write, even if it's just one TV show you write, or one sketch. That sketch takes off, and then those characters become something, and then you go off and it becomes, some crazy show that runs for 10 seasons. Crazier things have happened. So just know that when you're kicking around an idea with a friend and you're like, oh yeah, we should write something, that this may grow to be something much, 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 much larger than you had anticipated. And it's much easier to have these conversations before money comes into the question, before other producers or studios or anything like that come into the conversation. That makes things uncomfortable and weird and horrible. It's essentially like having a prenup before you get married. Have those conversations when they're not hard, which is right away. Just say, hey, let's quickly have a chat about shared credit and our roles in this. And then figure out what works for both of you. After you've had that conversation verbally, you should either put it in a contract or write them an email summarizing what you have discussed, and just ask for confirmation that this is what we are doing going forward. Hope that helps. I'm sorry to hear about the relationship and the credit trouble, but I hope next time you'll be armed with the proper tools and it will all go seamlessly.
Again, if you'd like to call in with your listener questions, that's 667-ACTOR-70. Again, that's 667-ACTOR-70. Thanks, everyone, so much for continuing to call in.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
Well, okay, so we'll wrap up. Before we do, as you know, I always ask actors of color if they have anything that they want to say or talk about in terms of representation, in terms of what you are seeing, in terms of casting, kinds of roles, opportunities that you would like to see more of.
Yeah, literally the first thing that comes to mind, and, I'll talk about like the opportunities and roles in a minute, but like, for those of us who are content creators or directors or producers, please, please, please have people on set who can do our makeup and hair. Like, please. I can't explain to you the number of times I've had to redo my makeup. Like, I remember once I was in a chair for like 3 hours because the girl couldn't match my skin. And I'm just
Oh
like,
my God.
I don't want to feel like I look like insane on screen, you know?
Yeah.
So just like that small thing, it makes me feel like it doesn't even have to be a person of color doing a person of color's, but just that they know how to do it. You know what I mean? Because then I have confidence that you've realized, great, we passed this Black girl, and that's the end of the job. Like, that's not it. You don't just pass the Black girl and then say, okay, adios. Like, you have to think about the entire experience and how that can also feel very othering on set. Like, everybody else looks great. I have like orange paint on my face, like, but everybody else looks like a supermodel, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
So that can feel very othering. And I would also say the things that I've noticed, I think that there's so many different types of stories now than there were a couple of years ago. Like, I think in the early 2000s, late 90s, there was this big boom in, like, especially in Black television. So there were all these different types of people like we could, you know, connect to. Like, I'm like this, I'm like this, I'm like this. I just finished watching Girlfriends, and I'm like, oh yeah, like, I feel a lot like Joan. Like, if they were casting this today, I would probably try to go for that role, like that kind of thing. And so now we have like Atlanta and Insecure, and we have Lovecraft, and we have I May Destroy You. And like, there's this big breadth of stories that are not just living in this space of stereotype. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that Black people are creating things for themselves, you know? So we get to show that we're not a monolith, and we get to show that, like, we too can go to space and have these like crazy space fantasies, or like we too are like weird and awkward and don't fit in and are just trying to navigate our lives. We also just fall in love, you know, like the simplicity of a human and the complexity of a human. I feel like that's growing in a really beautiful way that I didn't see a couple of years ago. It makes me feel like I have a space now, because I didn't feel like I felt fit in with what was happening on TV in like 2014, 2015, maybe a little bit earlier than that. I feel like a fit. But now I'm like, oh, there's space for like a girl who is a little bit weird and a little bit like not what you would expect a Black female to be. You know, like there's a space for me now. I think that's been a really cool trend. And I want that for everybody. Like, I'm interested in seeing that for every person of color, for every type of person, BIPOC, like all of that stuff. And I love seeing representation all across the board, because it just lets us know that we're all going through the same shit. We're all feeling the same things. And one other thing, I'm little on a soapbox right now, but I think during quarantine, we've seen just such a need for what we do, right? Like, we've seen such a need for what we do. And the first thing that everybody did was turn on their TVs and try to find comfort. And the easiest way to feel comfort is to see yourself in a story. So the more people we can put in these stories, I mean, I think it's just profitable. Also, more people will watch it. More people will be engaged in it. So let's continue to make this not a trend, but just a reality that is what we see on TV, and will help perspectives about people who are in the middle of the country who don't get to see people who look like me and have a human connection with other people. So
I think that's really, really, really important. So I appreciate that. And I love that perspective. Great. Wonderful. Okay. Let's talk about, so let's do our final questions. Do you have any questions for me?
How are you approaching things now that we are in a different landscape? Has there been a major shift in how you approach your preparation or your work? Like, is there anything different now than there was a couple months ago?
I'd say that there's a different attitudinal begrudging that I have with self-tapes. I am begrudging of the fact that I don't get even the feedback in the room anymore. That is really hard on my attitude. I feel like when I would at least go in the room and see who the options are, even of like, oh, you're an interesting option and you're an interesting option. And, you know, I like to sort of see like what casting is thinking of if they're bringing 20 people in and I see 6 to 8 of them. I like to go like, oh, that's interesting. That's an interesting way to go. Right. And then even just going in, doing it and having them say, you know, that was really great, Audrey. Is there anything you want to do differently? Or, I mean, that was good for me, Audrey. I thought that was really good. Or I really like that, but let's try this other thing. I think they want to see it more like that. I find that not having that and just sending tapes in the dark, I'm having like an emotional, devastating response to that change.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's just changing what we're doing. And
Yeah.
there's trade-offs. Like, listen, there's trade-offs. Like, I don't have to drive. I get more takes. I can sort of experiment, but also I don't even get the feedback of knowing if they've watched it, knowing that I've made any connection. At least when I would go in person, I'd be like, okay, if this role's not right for me, they've met me, they know what I can do, blah, blah, blah. And having it go into just sort of a void is, I would say, attitudinally can be more challenging. The way I've managed it so far, and it's a work in progress, but what I'm trying to tell myself right now is, I'm just doing the acting. I get 1 to 2 really good theatrical auditions a week. And if I don't, I do my own practice. And so I would do it with or without somebody giving me an opportunity that may or may not be seen by somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I hear that.
What is the best part about the business for you?
I think the relationships that I've made, and I'm speaking like not even in like a professional, like, oh, I have all these relationships. Like I've made some really good friends, like some friends that understand, like who understand each other on like a visceral level. Mm-hmm. And I'm grateful for that, like that's probably been my favorite part, is like working with people, playing with people, and then those people then becoming like close friends who I, see or text or whatever in a consistent way. Yeah, I think that's the best part for me, is building relationships.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's great people, that's for sure, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes. What? Yeah, sometimes they're really not great people, but we like the great ones.
Right.
What is the worst part about the business for you?
Like you said, just like putting everything into a void, like pouring out your soul and then being like, hopefully somebody watches this. I feel like the uncertainty of it, or the, there's like I don't want to call it cataclysmic, but there's like a sense of unknowing constantly. Mm-hmm. I think this year in particular has been really good for that, though, because it let me know that I don't know anything anyway. Like, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow in our country, what's going to happen tomorrow. Like, if, the mountains are going to be on fire. I don't know. There's so many things that are out of my control. And like, that's hard for me as a human, but knowing that, okay, literally nothing's in my control. So let me just try to do what I can. But for me, that's hard, especially when you like spend lots of energy and time pouring yourself into something and you just don't know if it's ever going to get received. So
Yep, that one sucks. I'll validate that. Okay, so what do you wish somebody had taught you or managed to get you to understand when you were just a wee babe entering this business?
Stop comparing yourself to other people. Stop that shit. And I still do it, but the times that I've been the most powerful in my life are when I'm just really locked in and authentic. And stop shape-shifting. And I think that's just generally for like life. And yes, that sounds counterintuitive, right? Because we're actors. But like, if something doesn't feel like it works in my acting, in my look, in my career, like, listen to myself. Don't listen to everything that's happening around. Like, listen to myself first. Yeah.
I love that. That's great. Yeah. Okay. And lastly, but not leastly, mildly interesting.
Oh God, nothing. Like literally nothing. Mildly interesting. Shit.
I love like mildly interesting is the one that always just totally throws people. They're like, I've always said they're like something that's mildly interesting. Okay, I'll start with mine and then you can talk about yours. Okay. My mildly interesting has been legit. The pumpkin coffees at Jack in the Box are amazing.
I didn't even know that existed.
No, but that's what I'm here for. Audrey helps actors find great coffee. Yeah, we went the other day. We got some burritos at Jack in the Box because the place that we moved to, I can see the Jack in the Box out my window. Like, we're definitely in a food desert for sure. And tons of fast food everywhere we look. So I was like, I just want like a hearty, happy, fast food breakfast. Got a burrito. And then they had the sign for like the pumpkin coffee. And we've been trying the Starbucks for a while and they're just not doing it well. We just feel like Starbucks is failing at the pumpkin spice latte. So we got the pumpkin coffee and I'm here to say super happy.
Great. I'm getting one of those as soon as we get off of this call. in that vein, since we're talking about food,
Yes.
I made a really good tomato soup a couple of days ago. Roasted tomato soup from Chrissy Teigen's first book. I made a roasted tomato soup, and I made a caprese salad, and it was
amazing.
So that's, I guess, mildly interesting. I don't know.
I do this thing during COVID where I end the day thinking about like what was the best part of my day. Like what are like 3 of the best parts of my day today, right? When I'm like falling asleep.
Yeah.
And super often it's food.
Get your joy where you could take it now, right?
Super often I'm like, God, that tomato soup was so good. And I just like think about it and I'm like, God, I'm so glad I ate that thing.
Yeah. Well, glad we're on the same page with that.
That's good. That's very good. Well, listen, I am so proud of you. I'm so happy for you. And I just can't wait for more and more people to know you and see the work that you're doing. And you are doing such a great job at focusing, extroverting, taking risks, and rinse and repeat. And I think that's led to wonderful results. And I'm only so excited to see those results expand and grow.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Next week on Audrey Helps Actors, we have Michael Toe. I'm so excited because he is a second act actor and he has busted his ass off to work consistently. So I think you guys are going to be so excited. I'm really inspired by him. He is a father. He is a husband. He is a working professional in a completely other business. And he also is a consistent booking working actor in the East Coast. And I think if you're not inspired by all that he manages to get done in a day, I don't know what it would take. I don't even know. So I'm really excited about that episode. It's going to be so great for everyone who wants to just know what they can be doing, and definitely anyone who feels like maybe they're having to get their momentum started or restarted. I think this is a great episode. Special thanks to Briana Price. Girl, I love you so much. You inspire me and you just deserve the world and back again. You guys, she is just amazing, as you can hear. And I so look forward to working with you professionally one day and to celebrating all the wins that are coming your way. Special thanks this week and every week to Thomas Snodgrass for his incredible work with sound. Thanks, Tommy. You guys, Thomas loves to surf, so if you ever see him out there, just give him a little hang something sign with you do with your hands. Executive producer, Jesse Lumen, my still so handsome husband, getting more handsome every year, I should say. Show music by Ari De Niro, theme song by Aalok Mehta and 108 Hill, and editing this season by Taylor Martorana. Taylor! Crushing it. We are so excited to have you join our team this season. Don't forget your towel.